In math, the word pi, which is spelled pi, refers to a very special number. In fact, it's so special that it gets its own symbol. This Greek letter here is the symbol for the number pi. But if pi is just a number, why don't we write it like that? Why do we need to use a special symbol for it? That's a good question, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But first, let's learn what pi really is by seeing how it relates to a circle. It turns out that pi is really a ratio. Now, if you're not sure what a ratio is, you can watch our video about them. But basically, a ratio is just a relationship between two numbers that's written like a fraction. Pi is the ratio of two different distances on a circle. It's the ratio of the distance around a circle to the distance across a circle. And what do we call those two distances? Yep, the circumference and the diameter. So pi is the relationship of the circumference to the diameter. And as you'll see in a minute, because pi is a ratio, it's the same number for any circle, no matter how big or small. Okay, but what number is it? What's the value of pi? Well, to figure that out, have a look at these two circles, one big and one small. We're going to imagine that our circle's diameters are flexible like a piece of string, and that we can wrap them around the outside edges, circumferences, of the circles. So for each circle, if we start at the top and wrap the diameter around the circumference, we see that one diameter is not enough to go all the way around. So let's get another diameter and keep going where the first diameter stopped. Two diameters still isn't enough to go all the way around. It looks like we're going to need to get a third diameter and keep going. Oh, so close! 3 diameters is almost enough, but it looks like we're going to need just a little bit more to form a full circumference. That little bit more turns out to be about 0.14 diameters. That means that it takes 3.14 diameters to equal 1 circumference for any circle, big or small. So the value of pi is always 3.14. Well, okay, pi is a little more complicated than that. 3.14 is really just pi rounded off to 2 decimal places. And we actually have to round pi off because it's a type of number that's called irrational. An irrational number has decimal digits that never end and never repeat. Yes, irrational numbers are confusing. But seeing some more of pi's decimal digits will help you understand what I mean. To be more precise, pi is 3.14159235897932338, and the decimal digits just keep on going forever without repeating. Pretty amazing, huh? But the good news is that saying pi is 3.14 is usually close enough for most math problems, so that's all you really need to memorize. And that's why we use a symbol for pi in equations. We could write pi with just 2 decimal places, or we could write it with 5 decimal places to be more accurate, or we could write it with hundreds of decimal places to be super accurate, or we could just use the symbol to represent the true value, which is infinitely accurate.